say yes we can?
Yes we can!
Now, look, when I say we don't cut girls, you say we don't cut boys, okay? So we don't cut girls, we don't cut boys. Very good. Let's combine our energy and create a force so great that we're going to wipe out circumcision across America. Can you give me a yes we can?
Yes we can!
I'm Anthony Losquadro from Intaction out of New York. And I came here to be around people that know how to fight and never give up. To fight for who we are, human beings with a life of hopes, dreams, and aspirations, and the right to pursue those dreams with a natural, intact body. To be around people that share my passion to fight against the depravity of what's euphemistically called circumcision, but which is actually genital mutilation. Are you those types of people? Give me a yes we are.
Yes we are!
And you're all special people because we're all taking up the challenge on an issue that most Americans aren't brave enough to talk about or care about or dare to challenge the status quo. So let's give us all a round of applause for being here and caring. And for those of us that couldn't travel but are watching on the live stream, let's give them a round of applause also. Friends, Jesus Christ was a man that was tortured and crucified on the cross for being who he was. He became a symbol of man's inhumanity to his fellow man. And he was a son. What he teaches us is that we can do better. He's a symbol that resonates with people all around the world, regardless of their beliefs. But every day, 3,000 sons of America are strapped down and tortured for being who they are. Their arms spread eagle like Christ and hurt by people who know not what they do. Instead of a crown of thorns on their head, they have a gomco clamp attached to the end of their penis. And then a little bit of that child dies. But they don't call it being sacrificed, they call it health care. And those that do it put dollar bills where a conscience should be. Can America do better? Yes, we can. Can we stop this inhumanity being inflicted on this country's children? Yes, we can. I was asked to share a little bit about who I am and what I do about this problem we face. But before I get to that, Eric Klauber. Can you believe this guy? Met Eric, it was at a mutual friend's apartment in Brooklyn during a January winter blizzard about almost 10 years ago. And we were going over a documentary concept called Pigs Without Blankets with a producer friend of ours. But then Eric was going to tell me about this far-out performance he was going to do at Harvard. And then that actually went down, and it ended up being life-changing for him. And now fast forward many years later, and now we're in Portland, Oregon with Eric the attorney, pending ground.
Hallelujah!
What a strange trip. Eric is a guy that went above and beyond the call of duty to protect children from genital mutilation. And he went through several hard years at Georgetown Law to get us to where we are today. Can we say yes he did?
Yes he did!
Now, Eric did that performance at Harvard, for which he's now famous for. Apparently he was a little bit exposed, but to get his point across. Eric, I have some advice. When you're before the court making an oral argument, don't try to make your point that way. So, I'm the founder of Intaction, and I'm not going to cover everything we've done over the last 15 years. It's been a journey. But I'm going to pick up around 2019. And what we were doing was extensive public relations and media outreach, and in addition to many events in New York City's Union Square Park with our giant mobile education unit. And it was very successful in raising awareness and winning hearts and minds. And I was getting interviews for like many radio shows, TV shows, podcasts, And it culminated in an appearance on HBO on a show called How To with John Wilson, season 1. And then January 2020, COVID hit, and it was a major existential crisis for humanity. And I knew it would be futile to try to do interviews about circumcision where people were worried about getting sick and where their next paycheck was coming from. So I stopped doing all public relations work. And I began to think about where our future opportunities would lie. And I thought we reached enough critical mass in terms of public awareness. I mean, when you have the largest podcaster in the world, Joe Rogan, yelling out, "Stop cutting baby dicks" to his audience of billions, I think we're there. And then I thought due to COVID, states would be financially stressed due to a large drop in tax revenues, and they would have to consider spending cuts. And I would have a solution for them. Stop paying for circumcision. So to communicate my plan, I knew I would have to lobby. And I knew lobbying worked based on past business experiences for both regional and national trade associations. But now it was time for Intactivism to adopt those methods. So I formed the Health Equality Campaign as a lobbying arm of Intaction. And health equality meaning equality between genders. We don't cut girls, so we don't cut
boys.
Excellent. And I registered it as a 501c4, meaning we would be unrestricted to lobby legislators and financially support political candidates for office. I then hired our first lobbyist in Albany, New York being our home turf, and we commenced meeting with legislators in person and made several trips to Albany for lobby days with our group. And let me just see if I can advance this here. Wrong way. Oh, give me the next one. Okay. So we did lobby days in Albany, and this is one of our lobby days, and many legislators were actually stunned that this was being raised as an issue in the State House. So what I created was a package of resources for legislators so that anyone that wanted to sponsor legislation, they wouldn't have to start from scratch. We would offer model legislation, reference materials, grassroots support, email blast capability, and access to medical experts that would support our position, especially during committee hearings. And I'm targeting insurance payments. I'm targeting insurance because the guaranteed payments places babies on a circumcision conveyor belt. When the hospitals know that the money will be wire transferred from the insurance company's bank account directly into theirs, they'll then solicit and manipulate parents to do it. Insurance payments are the linchpin. I believe if the money's not there, the hospitals will tell parents they don't do them anymore. Not medically necessary. Your son will be fine just the way he is. So I monitored legislation in all 50 states. And as I started to do that, issues started popping up all over the place. And I ended up hiring lobbyists in Maine, North Carolina, Mississippi, and Arizona to oppose or kill bills that would reestablish Medicaid funding for NTIC. And NTIC is my shorthand for elective non-therapeutic infant circumcision. That's just a fancy way of saying it doesn't do anything and you don't need it. So, that's again in Albany, in the State House. In New Hampshire, legislator Emily Phillips contacted me seeking assistance to do something about circumcision. So we took my model legislation on revising Medicaid regs and enhancing informed consent, and we started editing it together as a collaborative Google Doc file. She then submitted those documents directly to the House as our bills. That's what I call partnership in government. So that Medicaid bill in New Hampshire passed the Health Committee, but was defeated in the House by just 6 votes last year. Now, the nice thing about legislative advocacy is you can try again. And bills can take multiple attempts to pass. So we made a second attempt this year, spearheaded by legislator Julius Soti and his lovely wife, Adrian. Now, we had bipartisan support, although it was mostly Republicans, and but we also had the House Majority Leader as a co-sponsor. Now, while in the Health Committee, one Republican member, Republican Dr. Dave Nagel, who is an orthopedist but also calls himself a practitioner of psychosocial medicine, whatever that is. He was making ridiculous arguments in opposition to our bill. Things like, some women like circumcised men. Now, for a medical doctor to advocate for a medically unnecessary surgery on an individual to please a third party, I mean, that's the definition of breach of medical ethics. You know? So, but he said it. Anyhow, the House leadership ended up removing him from the Health Committee. The moral of the story is when the House Majority Leader co-sponsors a bill, you better not start raising opposition to it. And the bill passed the committee 10-8 along mostly partisan lines. Now I'll discuss the vote in the House later on. Health Quality Campaign is also actively working in 2 other states right now, North Carolina and Mississippi. We're working on a regulatory change in North Carolina to close the infant circumcision for HIV prophylaxis loophole, which is ridiculous. And we're trying to kill a bill in Mississippi to add Medicaid funding for infant circumcision. In Mississippi, an obstetrician friend of a legislator, she told this person that circumcisions weren't being covered and the state should pay for them. So that's how that started. Now, typical lobbying costs per state can run from $10,000 to $30,000, to give you an idea. But I will say that the campaign has already saved thousands of children from the harm and trauma of circumcision. You know, in Maine, and also North Carolina, Mississippi, and Arizona. For instance, in Maine, by stopping LD 1858, that's 2,000 children a year that are being left intact per year. And when you look at it over 5 years, that's like 10,000. So, and that's based on the Maine Department of Health fiscal note that was attached to the bill. So these are the results our campaign delivers. I'm continually trying to find new opportunities in other states. For instance, Big Red Texas would be a strategic target. But I've also been looking for a DC lobbyist that has connections into CMS or the Center for Medicaid Services. And if I can find someone that we can afford. Because once you get up to the federal level, it gets really expensive. We're able to financially sustain our lobbying with the help of supporters and members. And it's not only the money, it's the moral support we get. You know, when someone donates to us, it's emotionally sustaining for us, especially for those of us that are doing this day after day for free. And I'm not looking to get paid for it. I do this because I love doing it. And we're saving kids, and the kids that are going to be left intact, they won't ever know who we were, but we know. I've had some interesting conversations while lobbying as an Intactivist. For instance, I was in Maine in a room full of women, and during a discussion of circumcision harm and the benefits of foreskin. And someone asked me, she was always curious about what a man experiences during orgasm, what it feels like. So I'm not going to get into the details of that, but that's one of the great things about our issue. Once you break the ice, things really loosen up. And I can tell you there are a decent amount of legislators that are of the Intactivist mindset. For instance, just watch this.